Okay, good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy New Year. Are y'all about to journal with me? I am about to go through and set up my journal for the month. I do this every month, but it's the top of the year, so super important this year. For those of you guys who don't know, this is the 31 days of financial self-care journal. Um, Getting better with money doesn't start with your money. It doesn't start with your numbers. It starts with your mind. So I'm encouraging y'all to get your little notebook out and journal along with me. If you don't have this journal, that's okay. Just get a notebook out. You can use the prompts that I have in my journal. I don't mind. I'm gonna go live. I'm gonna try to do it every day this month. Bear with me. I'm gonna do my best to commit to that and go live daily. If you have ADHD, then you know how important body doubling is and doing tasks, boring tasks you don't feel like doing with other people to actually follow through. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing it. Um, y'all on Facebook and YouTube land have an advantage right now because, oh, here we go. Because I have not yet started streaming on TikTok. Give me a second. I'm just trying to set that up and then I'll get started with my prompts. I'll go through what we're setting up and why. Um, Give me a quick second. I guess I got to set this part up before I even turned on live here, but I appreciate you. Um, all right. Good morning, good morning, good morning, TikTok world. Good morning, YouTubers. Good morning, Facebookians. I am um, going to set up my journal. Every month, I start a new journal, but this is a new year, so it's super important for me to get this right because if you're perfectionist like me, you know, you like that type of stuff. Anyway, this is the 31 days of self care journal for personal and financial health. I believe that financial self care always begins with actual self care, and you make the best decisions when you're in the right state of mind. So, I am going to allow y'all to journal along beside me as I set up my journal for the month. I am going to go live. I'm going to do my best to go live every day this month. I am going to do my best. I don't know. It depends on how my schedule ends up looking, but I'm going to do my best to try to go live daily so that you guys have some co-working time with me. If you guys have ADHD, then you know how important body doubling is and working with someone else. And this is why I'm doing this. So that way, if you have some tasks you need to do with your finances, that you have the space to do them with me, to get them out of the way, to not be bored, to chat along with me. So this is not a teaching session. This is just me doing my own financial self-care task, and you're welcome to join along and doing with me. Again, if you don't have this journal, that's okay. You can grab a notebook and you can follow along and do the prompts that I'm doing in your notebook. If you want to order this, you're welcome to. It's on my website, www.youngwithtrina.com/books. The link is in the bio. But you don't have to. You can just grab a notebook and write these prompts out. So I'll get started. So the journal, actually, let me move this thing out of the way. Sorry, y'all. One of my little lamps, like usually, my best friend is not welcome today because it's blocking me and I'm streaming from multiple places, so I kind of can't move things the way I want them. All right, let me put this little money button over here. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? I see you in here. All right, so the journal starts off with some money affirmations in here. It's on the cover and it's on the inside. And this is important because what you say about yourself, I'm telling you, words have power. So I wanted to start off with, if you can't think of your own affirmations, and I do think that you should come up with personal affirmations, words that you believe in, words that you need to think about and say about yourself. But if you can't think of any just yet, just start with the ones that I put on the cover. I love this. I say these all the time. I have them everywhere actually. I have this image on I put it on a canvas bag. I also put it on one of my hoodies that's in my store. I don't know if it's in my store yet. I have the hoodie, but I don't know if I made it available for y'all yet, but it'll become available if it's not already available. But it's on the journal. I put this in a lot of places and in a lot of the budgeting tools because I think it's important for you to speak life into yourself. So anyway, you see a few of them in here. Let me know if any of these in particular you like. Let me know if there's some money affirmations that I'm not saying yet that I need to be saying. What do you say to yourself about your finances? Tell me what you say about yourself. I think one of my favorite ones on here is um, every day I get better with money. Because I feel like this one gives you space and grace. I think a lot of times when we say affirmations, if it doesn't ring true to us yet, we just kind of reject it. And this gives you space to not be perfect. If you were to say like, I'm great with money, you would feel like maybe you would feel like you're lying to yourself, and it will be hard for you to internalize it. But when I say every day I get better with money, that gives me space to believe that I'm growing, that I'm getting better, I'm doing more. Maybe I'm not perfect yet, but I'm getting better. And I believe that about myself. Yes, personal finance is my area of expertise, but I don't know everything about money. And most importantly, because I'm a human being with emotions and my own mental health journey, even when you know things about money, it doesn't always mean you're going to do the right things with money because most of our financial habits have nothing to do with how much money we make. It has to do with how we process life, how we process the things that are happening to us, the money stories we have, the trauma we've gone through, how we're literally feeling physically and emotionally and mentally on any given day can adjust how we would make a financial decision, even when we know better. And that's something that I've only learned more recently in the last 4 years. If you guys listen to my podcast, I dropped a clip of it the other day. But if you haven't, go listen to the clip. If it feels like something that you want to listen to, the whole episode is on my YouTube page. But I'm sharing my journey. This year, my word of the year is vulnerability. And I am dismantling the belief that just because you're an expert at something means that you can't make mistakes or that you can't have gone through things in life. And I'm being very vulnerable and sharing my current walk in my personal finances. I am sharing with you guys where I am financially, how I got there. And just a trigger warning in the first episode, I'm talking about some really sensitive topics. So SA and DV is in that episode. And so if that is a topic that's hard for you to listen to, please prioritize your mental health and listening to it. But it was important for me to give you guys that context to help you guys understand, to help myself understand how I got to where I am financially, because I had avoided taking care of my own mental health, and I avoid processing so many types of trauma that I had been through for a long time. And it caused me to shut down. And that shutdown affected me financially. So if you guys are interested, thank you so much for the hearts. I appreciate it. If you guys are interested in hearing my story, I posted it yesterday. So click the link in my bio to find the podcast, or go to YouTube to listen to it. I would love for you to hear it. I would love to hear your feedback, and I would love to hear your stories too. First of all, it's scary to be vulnerable. It's scary to tell someone what has happened to you. I know it might, God ain't about to make me cry. I know it might seem like a lot of times you're strong friends, and I am definitely the person that people just assume is okay because I'm so good at being okay that I don't have moments where um I'm afraid, but I am. Telling that story was really hard, even though, and that was like the DV and the SA story. Those are stories that should be stories where it's like, obviously you should feel shame around that. You didn't do anything to yourself, right? But there was this inner shame of like, I don't know, people think, oh, you're too strong. Well, how could you have let something like that happen to you? Like, I don't know why. Is this feeling of feeling like I shouldn't have even been in the situation. And so for a long time, I just didn't tell the story. And because I was doing my best to just forget about it, to forget that it ever happened, I was carrying all this weight for years. And it was affecting how I was making decisions in life, what type of people I connected myself to. And those decisions affected my finances eventually. I wouldn't learn that until the last 4 years when I had a complete meltdown and needed to take a FMLA from work and then eventually leave my job. And I'm glad now that I have decided to face all the little traumas that I just decided I could deal with it later because I have to take care of other people. I could deal with it later because I'm glad I've been in therapy for the last 4 years and I've been doing the work. And it's not easy, y'all. I'm telling you, when you start facing whatever you're going through in life, I feel like it gets worse before it gets better because it's really hard to look at your situation. It's really hard to revisit wounds that you just want to forget about. But I promise you, it's worth it. Do it with in the safety of someone who is skilled and someone who you can trust. I think both of those things are necessary because finding a mental health professional, a therapist, it takes a little work. It's like finding a husband, in my opinion, because that someone can be skilled but still not a good fit for you. They could be skilled but still not understand your cultural nuance and your unique set of issues. Like, for example, as a Black person, a lot of times it's exhausting to tell your story to someone who doesn't understand the little microaggressions you go through as a Black person in life. And then you have to turn around and then educate them on Blackness so that they can help you. They can help you, but you got to have that extra labor of explaining things about growing up as a Black person in this country. And a lot of times it's easier to just talk to someone who understands that. Now, fortunately, that hasn't been my experience. My therapist is actually a old white woman. Like, she's not my age, she's not my race, she is my gender, but and and surprisingly, she just she's just amazing. I love her, but I also have worked with people who were not a good fit for all those reasons. So take your time finding your therapist. Um, Same thing with a financial coach. I'm a financial coach, but I'm in a community with hundreds of other financial coaches. And I can very easily see how different we are and what communities we serve are different. And it's important for you to find a person who really gets you. As a financial professional myself, I focus on gifted Black women with ADHD. Most often, we are late diagnosed with ADHD because we're gifted, because we're smart. People make the assumption that we weren't struggling with things in life, and so we don't discover that we had the issue until later. And when it starts showing up in our finances, when it starts showing up in our relationships, when it starts showing up later in our workplace, that's usually when we start to discover it, especially if it starts to affect our mental health. Um, so there's a unique set of issues that come with being smart and then not and having these ADHD obstacles because we feel like because we're intelligent, we shouldn't struggle with certain things when it comes to ADHD. And so I serve this community because a lot of times when people come to me, they feel like I'm too smart to be making these mistakes with money when it has nothing to do with your intelligence. It has a lot to do with the way you're setting things up, the world teaches us about money in a very neurotypical way and our brains work differently, and it's not wrong, it's just different. So you need someone who understands that you need different things. For example, here I am co-working with you because I understand that the ADHD community needs body doubling. We don't want to do these boring monotonous tasks, and sometimes it's just easier to get it done if we do it together. So I'm up here with you guys right now because if you know that you made yourself a promise in the new year, I'm going to start journaling every day. I'm going to start budgeting every day. I'm going to start doing these little monotonous tasks that are exciting in the new year when it's all, yay, new year, new me. But like a couple months down the line, when it's out of your radar, you're not going to be doing it if you don't have a certain level of accountability. So I'm up here so that if that's the promise you made to yourself, you have a community where we can do it together. Because I don't want to do this shit either all the time, but here I am. Okay. You say yes. Yay. I'm glad this is good. You said, oh, it's okay to cry, hon. It's cleansing. I only just recently got that clarity of Like I said, in the last 4 years, how freeing crying is to allow myself to feel whatever I'm feeling. Like if I feel sad, that I'm not going to deny myself um, the emotion, because all it does is just continue to attack you when you could just allow yourself to feel it and it'll pass. Um, yeah, so thank you. I just didn't want to cry because I don't want y'all to hear me sniffling and my nose. When I cry, my nose always runs. And then y'all can't hear me. Good morning. Good morning, mommy. Mommy said it. Thank you for the comment. Thank you for the encouragement. I appreciate y'all. Like I said, I really hope that you guys listen to the podcast episode and choose to share your stories with me. I'm actually looking to interview guests as well. And just for context, I'm not looking for people who have necessarily already overcome all, like they're already at a great place, because I feel like when we hear people talk about finance, especially financial professionals, we're looking at people at the end of their journey, and I want to talk to people in the middle. I'm telling you my story because I am back in the middle, and I I think that there is power in that place. There are still people you can help when you're in the middle, because you're still probably further along than someone else in your journey. And when you tell your story and you give context to someone, it helps them understand and not feel like they're alone, or that they're foolish or reckless or irresponsible for having been here. Um, I think if I didn't take this time to do this work, I wouldn't understand that it is, when you're going through depression, it can paralyze you. I knew all the things to do technically on paper, right? I've been doing this work for a really long time, but I never understood how depression actually affects your body and how it overrides your will, that the amount of sleep that your body is, like the chemicals that are released that are forcing you to like go into like a lot of sleeping, that I just couldn't do a lot of tasks that were simple. They were simple, but they were not easy for me to do. And it caused a lot of damage to my personal finances. And I had no idea that that happens when you go through that type of depression. So I'm sharing my story with you guys because I want you to understand that even when you're good with money, you can still make mistakes with money, and it's not because you are irresponsible or you're not good with money. It's because life happened and you weren't prepared to manage that stage in life. And a lot of times it's because we didn't have the support systems. I carried a lot of what I went through by myself. When you listen to the episode, I'm on the episode and my sister is interviewing me, and she says in the episode, like, she's at taken aback because she knew all the stories before I shared them that day. But for most of my life, she didn't know a lot of those things happened to me until years later. Years later, like literally within the last 4 years, some of these stories I was just sharing with her. And to think that she saw me all the time, still doing all these, like, yeah, I don't want to give it away. I want you guys to hear it in context. So if you guys have time, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and listen, and then tell me what you guys think. Tell me I'm not alone. And if you know somebody who's been through some of the things that I went through and needs to hear my story, please share it with them, because that's why I'm doing it. If you have a story you want to share, DM me permission, um, because I would love to hear your story too. Anyway, I haven't even opened this notebook yet, but this is the journal. This is the 31 days of self-care journal for personal financial health. And again, that's because your mental health and your emotions affect your finances. If you are not feeling great mentally, emotionally, you're not going to be able to make great financial decisions. I open this up with a little letter to y'all. If you have this journal, please read it. I know we have a habit of getting books and like skipping right past the intro of stuff, but I promise it matters. So before you get into the journaling part, read this part, okay? It's important because it helps you understand why you're doing this, why it has anything to do with money. There's a section for the strong start, and I explain the idea of a strong start to you guys. Um, and I'll just read like the bold parts here, but like your brain is most active and creative in the first 20 minutes after you wake up. The first 20 minutes. That's when it's most active and most creative. And most of us use it spending that time kind of like strolling. We wake up, we have an autopilot. Our brain just does what it wants to do. I actually wake up now and I throw my phone across the room because I know I'm going to want to autopilot and scroll through social media, and I'm trying to change that habit so that I actually use the most critical part of my morning for the right things. Um, and we might wake up and maybe we don't doom scroll, but we wake up and we think about all the things we did wrong. We start ruminating on how we forgot to do something yesterday, and it's just not helpful to our day. And so it's more important that we envision ourselves being successful in the first 20 minutes of our day. And so journaling is really powerful. Looking at your vision board is really powerful. This is your opportunity to retrain your brain's autopilot to the vision of your future rather than cycling back through the bad habits and outcomes of your past, which is often what we end up doing. So I put some good habits to have in the morning in here. Same thing with the strong finish. You know, as I say, simply put, taking a few minutes at night to set up an environment that supports what you want to accomplish the next day makes it easier to follow through. So, for example, when I put out my workout clothes, like right next to my bed in the morning, I'm more likely to put on my workout clothes and actually work out than if I've got to go in the drawer and I've got, like, if I take all the friction out of a task I want to do in the morning, I'm more likely to do it. Does it guarantee it? No. But am I more likely to do it? Absolutely. You said, I would like to connect with you. I can use your services. I'm neurodivergent as well. Okay, friend, DM me. I would love to connect with you as well. Thank you. I'm glad that this is connecting with you. I love our community. I really do. I had somebody reach out to me from France. I have never had, like, I know that the internet is everywhere, but I didn't even imagine my work being in another country. And she DM'd me. She found me. I was being interviewed by a psychologist on Dr. Patrice Berry on YouTube, and she found me there and found my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, and sent me a message. She was like, "I'm gonna find you. I don't know how to get to you, but I have had to find you." She said, "I've been following a lot of financial professionals, and I've read lots of books and I've taken courses, but nothing made my brain light up the way yours does when you teach about money. And I finally am getting things, and I just had to find you and get your workbooks." And so that was the greatest compliment. So I sent my stuff to France this month. Well, I guess we're in January now. So last month I sent my books to my budgeting workbook. She wanted the whole financial self-care bundle, which is still on sale, by the way, to France. And she was like, "I'm willing to pay whatever the shipping is." Turns out France has like crazy tariffs, um, duty fees. And so it costs a bit, not only for the shipping side, but for them to even receive it, their citizens have to pay like an additional duty fee on books. So that was interesting to learn. But she was fully aware and was fine with it. But anyway, I gave you some good things for you to do at the end of your day in here. And then I am going to create a playlist um, on how to use the different tools, including this journal in here. So there's a QR code that attaches to a playlist that I'm creating for y'all. And these lives will be how I create them. So if you guys have questions, ask them in here, because those questions will help someone else in the future. So always be curious, always be learning. Um, Something else I tell you guys to do in here is when you're getting started is to create a vision board. I always create a vision bank for the year. I'm going to do my vision bank live as well. I'm going to show y'all how I create it. You said that's amazing. I just downloaded your challenge. I'll be in touch. Okay. Yay. I'm excited for you. Which challenge did you download? I'm curious. I have a couple different challenges, so let me know which one you downloaded. So your vision board, affirmation statements, activation statements, impact statements, and your results. So in this journal, you're going to have a couple different sections at the start of the month. You'll only need to set them up once, but I want to explain them to you. So first of all, vision board. It's a new month. I want you to create use words and images that remind you of your goals for the next 31 days. Okay. So obviously you don't have to create the vision board with me live right now, but that's your assignment for right now. Today, I want you to create your vision board. And if you want to do the vision bank with me, I may hop on later and do it today, but make sure that it reminds you of your goals for the next 31 days. A lot of times when we are doing vision boards, we're thinking like super long term. And that's nice. You do want to I have a master vision board. It's actually a cork board that's in my office. And I have like big, big goals on there, right? But you need to have a vision that's more like right now so that you remember why you're getting up today. Like, what are you focused on achieving in the near future? Because those little visions help get you to your big vision. So, create a vision board for the next 31 days. What do you want to see yourself doing in the next 31 days? Think about the actual steps you need to do to get there. So, for example, if you have a vision that you want to get a new job, right, and you've got the job on or a pay rate on your vision board, right, that you want to be making, what are the little things that you'd have to do in order to achieve that vision? It would look like applying for the job. It might look like updating your resume. It might look like contacting a career coach. It might look like creating a brag book. If you guys don't know what a brag book is, I'm actually going to be teaching on that soon, but it's basically a tool that I created that helps you organize all your professional assets. So any letters of recommendation that you've had, any emails with praise from former supervisors, all your resumes, any personality assessments that, you know, remind you of what your actual professional and personal strengths are. Um, that's your brag book. Anytime a client has given you praise or, you know, said something positive about you, sometimes we forget how good we are and we take for granted the little things that other people say, especially when they're gifts to us. They feel like they're so easy that they're not special, but they are. Things that come easy to us, we tend to disregard. So it's a place for you to be able to remind yourself of how dope you are so that when you're applying for these jobs, you are not talking yourself out of them. Because I have a habit of talking myself out of things because, yeah, yeah. Because I was my own biggest bully. So build a habit of when you're making your vision board, including all the little milestone tasks that you need to complete. So as you're working on them, you're starting to see yourself make progress. Those small wins, especially for neurodivergent brains, are important. We need to have like dopamine hits. And when we see we got anything, even a little bit accomplished, the ability to check something off or cross something out or just see that, oh my God, I got that done. Look at my year, look at my month. It's already starting to go in the direction I want it to go in. That's powerful. So when you make your vision board, include things for the next 31 days, not just the goal, but the actual action items that you're going to do in your vision board. I see myself, whatever. Okay, then affirmation steps. Wait, you said no spend September. Hey, that's a good one. That's a good one. And again, you could do, I'm glad that you're not waiting for September to do that challenge, because even though it says no spend September, you could do a no spend January. The number of days will be different because it's 31 days in January, but that's okay. You could do a no spend February. Doesn't really matter whenever you need to do it. You said yes. Oh my goodness, it feels so good. Yay. Affirmation statements. That's the next thing. This month, I want you to think about what you need to believe about life, about your feelings, about you, to bring your vision to life. Write affirmation statements as I statements, okay? And I'm going to go through mine so you can get an example. And then I want you to repeat them daily. So you only need to set them up once, but every day I want you to go through those affirmation statements and say them to yourself. So I gave you some affirmations on the cover, but these affirmation statements that you're going to create in this journal are going to be unique to the month. So you created a vision for yourself, but what do you need to say about yourself to believe that this is possible? This specific vision, because your vision for the next 31 days is completely different. What you want to do is different than me. So what do you need to say about yourself to believe that's possible? I gotta find my charger from my phone before it dies on y'all. What do you need to say? Right? So if you're looking for a job, for example, I am highly qualified, right? Actually, I'm gonna read to you some of the things that I said in mine. I'm gonna set mine up and I'm gonna read it to you. I am in demand. Exactly what I offer is prayed for, meaning that I believe that somebody out there is praying for my unique set of skills. I am in demand, and I got to believe that about myself in order for me to have the emotional currency and courage to actually shoot my shot and apply for the job and do the interview and do the work, right? If I believe that there's somebody praying for me, I'm gonna do it because I love helping other people. So it doesn't feel like I'm begging for a job. It feels like I'm going to serve somebody. And that feels exciting. That feels easy to do. So I gotta find the words to that I can really believe, that I need to believe about myself to make going after this vision possible. So that's an affirmation statement. The next thing is a new term that I came up with. It's an activation statement. Okay. When I first created these journals, not this one in particular, because I've had a couple different iterations of the journals. I'm always improving things. But when I first created it, I only had affirmation statements, and I realized that wasn't enough. I wanted to like baby step y'all, because I just assumed that if you were saying affirming things that you would know what would come next, right? And activation statements are different because they describe the actions you need to take, or the habits you need to be consistent with in order to activate and manifest your vision. Meaning that they describe what you would be doing if you actually believed what you just said about yourself. Like if I genuinely believed that there's somebody praying for my unique set of skills, I would be seeking them out. I would be applying. I'd be like, I know that y'all have been looking to hire somebody, like y'all have been desperate to hire someone with my skills. And I'm just offering my services. I'm applying because I know y'all need me. There will be nothing that will hold me back. Like, if I believe that about myself, I wouldn't be in my head telling myself they don't want you. I wouldn't be in my head telling myself you're not qualified, or you need this degree, or you need one more certifications. I wouldn't be in my head because I genuinely believe what I affirmed about myself. If I believe it, I'm activating. So what would you be doing? What habits would you have if I believe I was this kind of person? Okay. So that's an activation statement. Is that making sense to y'all? Okay. And then the next step is an impact statement. Again, something else I've decided. I obviously I didn't coin the word impact or activation, but the concept of an impact statement. An impact statement describes what impact is taking place because of the actions that you're doing in your life. Like, what impact would taking these actions have on your life? If I'm doing this, what would happen? What would happen? Okay. And then the last section that I have in this journal in here, that is just like, you do it like you set it up one time. This one is this results. You're actually going to be tracking this all month long, but you're tracking your wins. So a lot of times little things happen that we forget about, small little victories. And I just wanted you to have a place that when you got to the end of the month, you got to look back and go, wow, I forgot all these things happened. Because it's easy for us to remember all the things that went wrong, all the places we messed up. But it's hard for us to see how God worked in our life because they happen. We give ourselves a fraction of a second to celebrate the if at all, and then we forget how much did go right. And so we feel like we're defeated, and then we give up, and then we're like, throw the year away. No, you made progress, and I want you to see it. So before I get into what those pages look like in the journal, this is a section where you're gonna quantify how you're feeling. I like doing this so that you can see how you're progressing, both in your mindset, your systems, and your resources. You're not always going to make progress every single month. You're not going to make progress in every section every single month. In some areas, you may find yourself going backwards, and that's because life is lifing and it happens. But I want you to at least be aware of how you're feeling. So the first section asks you to measure your growth in your mindset. On a scale of 1 to 5, a 1 being a no and a 5 being yes, do your thoughts support your intentions? Like, when you think about things, do you feel like your thoughts are always self-sabotaging, or do you hear yourself, the thoughts in your brain supporting what it is that you say you want to do for the month? Like, when I wake up in the morning, do my thoughts say things like, dang, it's cold outside, or you could just do it tomorrow? Like, am I talking myself out of it all the time, or are my thoughts saying things that actually make me want to do the task? So you want to be aware, like, do my thoughts support my intentions? Like, I know that there's definitely a season in my life, and depending on the task, where the answer is hell no, they don't support it. I'm a big bully to myself, and they're self-destructive, right? There are other areas of my life where the answer is yes. right? And there are some areas where I'm like in the middle. So you're answering from a scale of 1 to 5. Do my thoughts support my intention? So if you guys don't have this journal, get a notebook. I want you to do this. Even though this is the journal and you may not have it yet, you can still do this task. You can use your notebook. I'm giving you permission to use my prompts informally. If you decide you want to invest in the pretty packaged version of it, you can. The link is in my bio. Do my actions support my intentions? So like, are the things you're doing supporting your intentions? If I say I want to lose weight, but I'm in the grocery store throwing cookies in the cart, like obviously that action does not support my intentions. Like, no, it doesn't, right? If I'm saying I want to budget, but I want to get better with money, but I'm not joining these lives. I'm not, investing in materials that support, better money management. I'm not asking questions in the comments. I'm not, like, my actions are not supporting my intentions to be better with money, right? So that's a no. But if I am doing those things, or I'm doing more of those things, they're in a range of 2 to 5. Does my spending align with my values? Right? This is a financial self-care workbook, so I'm always going to be talking about money in some place of my material, even when it seems like it's not. Does my spending align with my values? The things I claim I care about, does my spending reflect that? Does my spending, if I looked at your bank statement, would I be able to know what you care about? Okay. I am organized and I can access information quickly. No or yes? I am consistently creating a money plan. I like to call it a money plan and not a budget. I say budget because I feel like that's the word people are familiar with, but I really feel like money plan is more empowering because it's a plan for your money. It's not a restriction. It's a decision that you're making. It's your plan for your money, and that feels good. Like, nah, this is the plan. I'm consistently following my money man. So some people make budgets, but then like they create one, but then they just throw the plan in their drawer. So am I consistently following it? So first you want to evaluate, am I creating one? Right? So maybe the progress is, maybe you're still not following it, but over the next couple of months, you're getting consistent with at least taking the time to create a plan for yourself. That's part of the journey. So you want to see, like, I'm making progress in this area. I haven't gotten to a point where I'm consistently following it yet, but I am consistently creating it. All right. The next one is, I know where my money is going. So you may be creating a budget but you still are not really tracking your day-to-day spending. Do you feel like you know where your money is going? Right? If it's, I know where my money is going, is no, I don't really know where it's going, then give yourself a 1. If yes, I know where every penny is going, then give yourself a 5. And if it's somewhere in between, rank it. Okay. Hopefully y'all are doing this along with me. This is a co-working session. All right. The next one, I use my, I'm skipping over something. I feel prepared for pop-up expenses. Guys, right now, if your tire was to break, bust, whatever, do you have enough money to cover it? Or is that going to stress you out? Are you overwhelmed? Is that like, I don't need one more thing? I don't need one more thing popping up right now. So if you don't feel prepared for pop-up expenses, give yourself a 1. If you feel like, yep, I'm prepared for, I know all the unusual things that happen throughout the year in my life, and if it pops up, I have the money for it, you can give yourself a 5. But if you're somewhere in between, there's a range here. So do you feel prepared for public expenses? 1 is a no and 5 is a yes. Next one, I use my support system and network. Now we're in the resources. So that was the systems area we just went over, right? The next area is resources. Do you use your support system and your network? Okay. Do you have a network? Do you have a support system? If it's no, then that needs to be a 1. For the longest, I had a support system. I wasn't using it. I wasn't telling anybody what my goals were, so that to discover that they actually work in that profession and they could actually get me the inside scoop, right? I wasn't telling people when I was going through things emotionally, so I was suffering in silence. So whether it was, in my professional life or in my personal life, I wasn't sharing. So I wasn't making my life easier. Wealthy people use their resources. They network. Okay. They tell people what their goals are. They find people who are in spaces that they need to be in, or they need a tool in, right? They're in here in the comments connecting with each other. Mommy said it immediately, was like, I need to know you, right? she's using her network. I'm in her network now, right? She's like, hey, I feel like I need to know you. And then decided to also be a resource and says she want to share her story, right? So she wants to be a resource to someone as well. It's not just a give or a take situation. She wants to be a giver. And to build a good network, you got to be willing to do both. Is that to realize that you have a value intrinsically. Every one of you have something to offer. You know something about life that someone else needs to know. So you have something, you have a reason that you need to connect with people because there's something that only you knows as well as you know it and can explain it the way that you can explain it in a way that someone else can understand it. Okay. So first of all, I want you to be okay building relationships with others because you may have something to offer too. Sometimes we don't do it because we feel like I don't have nothing to give. Maybe you do. Okay. So start building those systems. Sometimes the only thing that you have to give is your time, and that matters to somebody. I'm resourceful and I'm leveraging OPM. OPM means other people's money. You know what that is? You know what other people's money is? Do you know what OPM is? Other people's money? It could look like grants. It could look like coupons because somebody is taking that out. When you use a coupon, the company is using their money to give you that deal, right? I'm leveraging OPM, right? It could look like discounts. It could look like loans. Most of the time when we think of debt, we think of using credit cards and loans to buy stuff. But when you start getting to a place where you understand that that could be used for you to invest in things that make you money, now we're working. Now we're cooking, okay? When we take out a loan to buy a car for us to drive, that's bad debt. When we take out a loan to buy a car for us to put on Toro and rent out so that we're making $900 a month in profit, now that's good debt because it's making us money. That's leveraging OPM. Okay. A lot of times what we don't realize is wealthy people did not put up their money to buy these assets that are making the money. They had good credit and they used it to buy an asset that made them money. So when we're working on our credit, we're not working on our credit so we can buy stuff for us to consume. We're working on our credit so that we can buy assets that will make us money. And that money we make from the asset will allow us to buy the things we were going to use debt for. Okay. So we're going to let our assets pay for our lifestyle. That takes time to get to this place. So if you're not at that point of leveraging OPM yet, of like on the grand scale, you might be doing it on the smaller scale. So I'm using my resources. I'm looking to find out what's available to me, what I qualify for, what programs I'm entitled to, right? Something as simple as like your cell phone provider. Do you get free Netflix because of your cell phone provider? I want to get all my monies. Okay. The next one, I'm exploring options to increase my income. I know my value, skills, and I charge my worth. So write your numbers down. I'm gonna spend a little time thinking through these later for myself. The next section in this journal is I teach you my strategy for reframing self-limiting thoughts. You can do this exercise over and over again. You might have different thoughts that you need to do this exercise with, but this gives you an opportunity to practice doing it with at least one thought. And I will show you, I'm going to show you my last year one my last month one, so you can see what this might look like. All right. So if you guys watch the journal, my podcast, I talked about going back into the corporate America and going to get a job and how the pandemic shut me down and it caused me to to neglect my finances entirely. Like I just shut down. I couldn't get out of bed. I just was paralyzed for a good little while. And my beautifully perfect over 800 credit score took a plummet during that season of paralysis and depression. And if you're trying to work in the government, you have to do background checks. And one of those background checks is financial. And if you have unresolved financial blemishes on your credit report, it can affect your security clearance. And so one of the thoughts that I had, that I was currently thinking at the time, is I'm not going to pass this background check, and so I won't get this job. That was something that I was worried about. I'd never worried about that in the past because I had immaculate credit. Um, and for the first time in my life, I was like, oh my gosh, that season of depression. Now I've done the work, but now it's going to affect my capacity to get a job. That was a thought that I was having. Another thought that I was having around that time is I can't find another great job fast enough to meet my financial needs, that it's going to take a long time for me to make the kind of money that I want to be making. Another thought that I had was I'm too overwhelmed to take the most effective actions. That sometimes when you're having to take an action, you're just feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to do it. Like, it's just the thought of failure is so overwhelming that it just shuts you down. And that was a thought that I was having because I saw a cycle of me doing that, and I couldn't shake the idea that I was going to do that again, that I was going to be back in the paralysis that depression had me in the past, right? Um, and then the second section is asking you what you would like to think. So first you're assessing what you currently think about your situation. And then you're asking yourself, what do you want to be thinking though? What would you prefer to be thinking? So I wrote down, the information I need is easy to find and is acceptable. So the information I was going to need to provide for a background check is not going to be hard for me to find, and they're going to accept it. That's what I would prefer to think. Now, the next thing I wrote down is all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. God is always on time. I would prefer to just think that whatever happens, I know it all works together. Like, I would prefer to have that thought process in my mind. Another thing I wrote down is I believe that God can help me figure out anything and align everything I am missing and fill the gaps and fill all the gaps. I would rather have that thought process in my mind. But I wasn't having those thoughts at the time. I was thinking this, but this is what I want to be thinking. So that's what you're going to do. I want you to write down what you're currently thinking about your situation, right? Think about your goals. You said you had a vision for this year. What are the thoughts you're having around it? The limiting thoughts. And then I want you to write down some new thoughts. So I want you to do that with me. Hopefully y'all got your journals out. This is a co-working session. The next thing is, so that step one is to pause and examine your thoughts. That's step one in the journal. Step two is to disprove your negative thoughts and beliefs with good questions. Good is an acronym I came up with that stands for get over obstacles deliberately. Okay. So bad questions only answer what you can't do. And good questions get your brain to think of why you can and ways you can reach your goal. Think of at least two good questions that help you remember what you have inside of you or around you to get better with money. Complete the day's task, change habits, or reach some other goal. Okay. So I'm going to give you some examples of what I put down. Here's a good question. First of all, let me give you an example of a bad question. A bad question would be like me saying, why didn't I get that job? Right? Somebody might think like, that's a helpful question. You need to know why you didn't get it, right? Yeah, I mean, it's okay. But all it does is make me feel worse about myself. Oh, you didn't get the job because you don't have this degree. You didn't get the job because blah blah blah. Okay, right? All that does is make me feel worse about myself, and it could make it hard for me to take the next step. But if I ask myself a good question like these, here's some of the questions I wrote down. What does God say about you? What does God say about your situation? What did God say he can and will do? What can I get angry about to reduce my anxiety and leverage anger to take audacious action? That's a weird question, I know, for y'all, right? Because I know that I'm prone to anxiety attacks, but when I'm angry, I just get shit done. I'm not thinking. I'm pissed off. I'll be like, you know what? I'm so mad that I'm gonna take action. Like when I got my last job working for this college, I was working at a college prior to that, and I learned that part of their review process is the leaders are told they're never allowed to give you a perfect 5 in an area. because they believe that everybody has room for improvement. And I felt like I can understand that your overall score could never be a 5, but I couldn't understand why a specific area could never be a 5, because you could be excellent in a particular area, especially the areas that were quantifiable. And in my case, I was the highest performing financial counselor in their entire university, period. My quality control was insane. And I was so good that they actually sent counselors to my campus to train, and they had supervisors at their location, meaning they flew people from a different state to my state and put them in a hotel for me, and I was nobody's supervisor to train because I was that good at training. So I felt like if I'm that good at training, if y'all willing to pay money to have people stay here to train them, then I must not be average. Because if I'm just mediocre, if I'm just average, then why are you spending money? Like, have their supervisor train them, right? And I was like, I just feel like this is a way for y'all to not pay us more money. This is the way that y'all work out being able to not give us a raise. And it pissed me off. It made me so mad that when I left that review, and my supervisor at the time, he was relatively new. He came from a different campus. And I was like, I'm not mad at you personally, because I realized, like, you're new here. You don't really know me really well. And you're just doing what you're being told to do. So it's not personal, but I'm frustrated. And I immediately, after I left that, new year, because every year you do your annual review, I went back to my desk. And when I got back to my desk, I got an email from a job I had applied for a couple of months ago that said, hey, I know you applied for this position at the Newport News location, but we had a position open up in Virginia Beach, and I want to know if you would be willing to take this position. And normally I would have said no, because it required me to move to a different city. I had just accepted an offer on a property. So I was under contract for a house that was near where I lived, and I didn't want to live in a different city than where I was working. And it's not like the city was right next door. I would have to cross a bridge and a tunnel to get to this other city. My support system was in the city I was living in at the time, so I would be moving away from my support system. I was putting myself in a vulnerable position, but I was so pissed off that none of that anxiety crept up for me. I just went and was like, I absolutely would, because I was so mad that my job was taking these weird tactics to avoid paying their employees what they deserve, that I was like, you know what? I absolutely would. I would be interested in interviewing for that position over there. End up being able to get out of the contract for the house and finding a house in Virginia Beach and accepting a position over there. And if it wasn't for anger, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And so I leveraged that emotion to be able to get out of my anxious ways. And I remember telling my supervisor when I went to leave the job, because I put in the notice a couple of weeks later when I found out I got the job. And I said, you want to know when that job offer was made to me? I said, the day we did the review. And he was like, oh man, because they were so sad to see me go. He was like, we put a nail in our own coffin. I was like, yeah. I was like, it was the right conditions, because I don't think I would have left otherwise. But God know what he doing. He knew to piss me off right before that job offer came in. Okay, another good question was, how many other jobs are hiring right now? So I don't get stuck in my feelings and attached that this one job has to be the job. But if I ask myself, like, how many other jobs are hiring right now, I could be like, you know what? If this job doesn't give me the job, it's not the end of the world. There's like 20 other places hiring this exact same role. I'm gonna be okay, right? That's a good question, okay? That allows me to stop limiting myself, okay? So step 2 was to disprove your negative thoughts or beliefs with good questions. All right. Good questions help you take action. All right. Step 3 is proactively attach a higher meaning to an outcome that doesn't meet your expectations. That doesn't meet expectation. Sorry, I'm tongue tied. Proactively attach a higher meaning to what an outcome that doesn't meet your expectations could mean for you. Meaning, like, if you don't get what you want out of it, maybe there's some higher meaning. And if you proactively think of a better reason that it didn't happen for you, you're not going to be as brokenhearted if it doesn't happen, because you already have decided what it could mean. Okay. So for me, I wrote down, I choose to believe that and then what you're going to do is insert the goal. If the job falls, if I don't get the job, like, right, because I wanted the job. So if the job falls through, it just means, and then you're going to insert your higher meaning, right? So for me, I wrote, God has a better way of providing for me physically, mentally, and financially. There is time to get other things done. Those are the things that I want to attach. At the time when that particular job that I was applying for, the one that was moving me from Newport News to Virginia Beach, when the first time I applied at a Newport News location, and I didn't get the position, and I was devastated because um, I really felt like I killed that interview. I did a great job, right? I just felt like I did all the right things, and I was highly qualified for the job, and so I just saw myself getting this job. And honestly, if I'm being honest with y'all, there aren't too many jobs that I applied for in life that I didn't get. Like, I just have a good track record for applying for a job and getting a job, and I just felt like, but this one in particular, most of the time when I was applying for other jobs, I kind of felt like I was like really stretching myself into a role that was new, and so there would be reason to not hire me. This one was one where I felt like I am hella qualified for this job, and so it kind of blindsided me. But what helped me was before the interview, the day before the interview, I had went out to dinner with some friends, and a friend of mine had said to me, I was telling him I was nervous about this interview, and we talked for a while, and he was like, it sounds to me like you are super qualified for this job. He said, um, instead of thinking that if you don't get the job, it's because there's something wrong with you. What if you thought that if you don't get the job, it's because you're so qualified, they feel like they can't afford to pay you, that you actually deserve more money than they have in their budget to offer. And I was like, sheesh. Like, that reframe, man, that did something for me. That reframe was like, oh my gosh. Like, can you imagine? Like, I didn't get the job because they should be paying me more. Oh, that felt good. Like, that almost made me excited to get rejected, because I was like, okay, I'm too qualified. Like, I don't mind you saying that I'm undershooting myself. Is that the message, that I should be applying for higher positions? Message received. Thank you for that. Right. So that reframe made me feel like, okay, if I don't get the job, I have a higher meaning to attach myself to. Now, don't get me wrong, when they told me that I wasn't getting the job, I was heartbroken, but that reframe probably helped me be not as heartbroken as I could have been, because I did have that logic. I was qualified for this position. I didn't understand it. Now, fast forward, the reason I find out they didn't offer me the job, I find out months later when they sent me that email to apply in Virginia Beach. The supervisor told me, they actually knew they wanted to hire me the day that I applied for the first one. They wanted me. They wanted me. Are you hearing me? They rejected me, but they wanted me. The only reason they did not hire me is because they thought I would be a better fit for the Virginia Beach campus. And they knew it at that time, but the position hadn't opened up yet. So they couldn't tell me that. So all this time I'm thinking they don't want me. But turns out they always wanted me, but they just could not tell me that information until the position became available. Sometimes we think we're rejected and we're not, right? Sometimes God knows things that we don't know yet. The job was already mine. What's mine is for me, right? They couldn't tell me because the position hadn't opened up yet. And so they just thought that my personality for that campus director was better. Like, my personality would fit that campus director better than the personality of the director of the Newport News location. And turns out they were absolutely right. When I ended up going to that campus, the campus director was from New Jersey, like me. And if you know anybody from the North, we have a very blunt kind of communication style. And it's not for everybody, but we get each other, and he was such a good fit for me. The other campus director, I'm not gonna hold you, he was one of those passive aggressive, like, he was the type of person who you got to watch out for. He eventually ended up becoming my supervisor. When my campus director got promoted, he ended up coming to my location, and he eventually got trained to be the type of leader who your employees can trust, as opposed to, that's a story for another day. But when he eventually came to be my campus director, and before he eventually became a good leader. I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, you really did save me. You saved me, because if I had gone to him first, I would have had a completely different opinion of the company, a completely different opinion of leadership. He put me in the right location with the right leader who taught me a lot of great skills. So then when I ended up having a bad leader later on, I knew how to navigate that, because I knew what good leadership looked like. Plus, my old boss was his boss, because he got promoted. And so he had protection for me at every level. But anyway, I said all that to say, having a good perspective about what a bad outcome could mean is powerful because it keeps you from beating yourself down and then not wanting to take any more actions. Because when we fail at something, it makes us want to have paralysis, especially when we have ADHD. We're like, oh God, I want to avoid the pain of failing again. And so if I don't see it working out for myself, then I won't take a step. If you don't see yourself succeeding, we won't even try. You said yes, love it. Thank you. Oh my goodness, it feels so good. Yes, 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 yes. So yeah, attach a higher meaning to it. So if you're doing this along with me, whatever you said your goal is for yourself for the month, right? And you thought through what you want to be thinking about it, you have asked yourself some good questions to help your brain start thinking of ways you can actually reach the goal. Now I want you to attach a higher meaning if you don't reach that goal. Like maybe there's another way that God wants me to have, or a reason. Like maybe the timing is wrong, right? And it ended up working out for the good. So let me tell you something else that happened because they had not given me the job in the location. I wanted to get the job. Oh, my phone about to die. Let me get my charger. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. Okay, y'all. I'm sorry. My phone was dying. Oh. It's still not plugged. Okay, we charging now. So because they didn't give me the job in the city I was living in, and they were asking me to basically relocate. They offered me, you know how like a job has a range of pay? They offered me the max range for me to be, if I was willing to take this job, that they would pay me the max pay, which for me was a $10,000 raise from the job I was working at, which was the largest pay bump I had in my career. And so I don't know what they would have offered me if I don't know what they would have offered me if I don't know what they would have offered me if I had taken a job in Newport News, but I felt like they offered me the max one because I was qualified and I really deserved the max pay, but also because I was relocating. So it actually allowed me to make more, which I needed because Virginia Beach was a more expensive city to live in. So to a certain degree, it did cost me a lot for me to choose to move over there. Okay. And then the next thing on here is what action can you take right away, not tomorrow? What action can you take right away to build confidence and create momentum? I say don't underestimate the power of immediate action. It doesn't matter how small the action is, do at least one thing to get you closer to your goals. So for me, I wrote down check my email for updates. Meaning, if I don't like the smallest task, check your email to see if they've emailed you anything else about that job. Like, do they need any more information from you? Because remember, I was in the process of applying for a job for this at this time. Another thing I wrote down is continue training to get what I can in hours and education. Meaning, as a financial professional, I'm always developing. Like I'm a lifetime learner. I don't know everything about money and I never will, but I'm always trying to work on my skills and develop myself so that I'm a better coach for you, so that I'm a better employee for whatever company I'm working for. And so that's something I can do is I can just read another book. I can continue to master my craft. What's another action I can take right away to build my confidence is get dressed to record in case I have an opportunity. So this was addressing both my job seeking and inside of my business. Like sometimes I have ideas for y'all and I want to go live, but I'd be like, I look crazy. I'm not getting on live. I'm not getting on camera right now. And I'm setting myself up for failure because first of all, y'all not getting the advice y'all need. And I'm not making content that promotes my business and allows people to know that I'm here serving and, and so it's not helpful. So the least of things I could do is get dressed and record in case I have an opportunity. Okay, so that was one small little task that I could do to work towards my vision of growing my business. Okay. So yeah, then I have my vision area, and this is where I write down, as you like, you can do it, make it big and colorful. And on my vision board that I do for the year, it usually is, but because this is my journal and I don't want to create obstacles of perfectionism, I don't force myself to like make this super colorful and pretty, but you can. I usually maybe draw some pictures, but usually it's like words that is a reflection of my vision for the year. Okay, now I already told y'all about the activation, the language, the affirmations, activations, and impact, and the results section. I'm going to show you what um, mine look like, my actual answers are, and where this is in your journal. So if you have this journal, you know what you're putting here. Okay. So I'll read y'all because I told y'all this is my year of transparency and vulnerability. So I'm going to share what mine were. Um, what were my affirmations? Remember, just a reminder, the affirmations is what kind of person do you need to believe you are to manifest your vision? So you have a vision for the month. What kind of person do you need to believe you are? Okay, so mine are, I am responsible, especially when my word is attached. I am in demand. Exactly what I offer is prayed for. I am courageous. Despite temptations of fear, my belief in God, myself, and my purpose overtakes and pushes me into spaces I I used to fear. That's a long affirmation, but I needed that whole thing. I am prepared because I obey God and got ready for things I didn't even know were coming. So those are the affirmation statements I needed to hear for myself to be able to reach some of those goals. The next was, okay, if those are the things I believe I am, if that's the kind of person I believe I am, what kind of task and habits would that kind of person prioritize this month? So that's your next thing. What kind of tasks or habits would this kind of person prioritize this month? So I wrote down completing tasks I said I would on time, including bills, getting sales, offers, opportunities, right? Those are the type of tasks I have. Not operating from scarcity because it's clear I'm in abundance, right? I would not be operating from scarcity, right? That's not, I wouldn't be doing that. I am shooting my shot, trying things out, failing forward. Um, right? I'm failing forward often, meaning I'm taking risks, and some of those risks I will not succeed in. And I'm doing it all the time because I know it's moving me forward. So, yes, I'm failing, but I'm failing forward. So, those are the type of things that a person who believes this would be doing. Um, I am working on the right things by seeking God, and I have success, and I'm seeing my impact and my confidence rise. Those are the things that I would see. I would start to see, like, man, I'm starting to get better at things, and I'm starting to see my confidence rise, which might lead to, right? So that's the impact. What would the impact of somebody who's taken these actions do? It might lead to more trust, more confidence, more consistency, and professionalism for customers. It might lead to retained opportunities and even expanded offers. It might lead to forgiveness for past transgressions. It might lead to better jobs, higher pay, more sales, growing business. It might lead to more support, efficiency, passive income being greater than my bills. It might lead to better boundaries, healthier connections. Um, it might lead to healing myself and trusting in God. And then over here is where I wrote my results for the month, right? So, first of all, I got the job offer. I started doing the training, but I was still going through the clearance process. I got to honor my dad in New Jersey for his 75th birthday. He, as a veteran, I got him a street. They have a street flag for veterans, and that was such an amazing opportunity to be able to do that for my dad. So these are personal too. So when I'm writing down the things that happen, it's not just related to the goals. I just really want to remember all the amazing things that happened for the month. So I just write them down. My mom assisted with an expense for me. That was an amazing thing because it was completely unsolicited, and she just took it upon herself to just help out with a bill. My the election fired up something inside of me, an anger that helped me serve the community I serve unapologetically. So for example, when Kamala didn't get elected, I'm telling you, that put me in a little bit of a funk for a couple of days. I was like sick and paralyzed because I just felt frustrated with this country, but it also made me angry in a way that was helpful, because it gave me the space to be like, you know what, I serve who I serve. I don't care. I'm Black women. It is what it is. I used to feel really bad that I was excluding people, and I'm not excluding them, but I'm not targeting them. I didn't have, if you look at my products, it's hella Black. It's Black women everywhere. You see it right there on the cover. And I used to feel bad that they would look at my products and not see themselves. But Black people have been not seeing themselves in products their whole life, and we still buy them because we need the tools. Right? I can't tell you how many times I buy stuff that don't have Black children, Black women, Black men in them, and yet we still patronize them. And I realized, you know what, they will patronize me, and they did. I told you that international order was Paris, France. I'm imagining there wasn't Black people do live in Paris, but my guess is that she's not, and she still bought it because the tools I have work, and she wants what she wants. And so this allowed me to serve who I serve unapologetically and not feel bad about it. Like, I'm here to support gifted Black women with ADHD, and if you also want my help, you're welcome. But I know when I'm thinking of the messaging, the language, the problems, I'm thinking about our problems specifically and how I can help support us, because we have a unique set of problems that need to be addressed. And there's already enough help with everyone else. There's not enough help for us. Anyway, I said what I said. Other things that happened is the job offer got terminated due to the debt. So that very fear that I had, I got the job, started the job, actually got paid for the time that I worked because the security clearance process wasn't done. And they told me if I can get it taken care of, I will be the first phone call. Actually, they said that if what happened was the security clearance level increased. It used to be one level and it increased a level that the government wants. And so now they were looking for things that before they weren't looking for. And so she said that as a result, over 100 employees they had to let go of, and candidates they had to rescind offers on. And so they're actually down by a lot. And and the last time they did something like this, they had put in like a requirement that you had to have a minimum of a bachelor's degree. And so they lost a lot of employees then, and then realized that wasn't a good idea, because a lot of financial professionals have, like me, an accredited financial designation, and we're highly skilled. And the degree didn't actually make them more qualified to do the work. So they eventually rescinded that requirement and were able to get people back. So she's hoping that they eventually rescind this security clearance, this new change in security clearance requirements, which is crazy to me, because here we are electing somebody into office who has 43 or however many felonies he has. And yet, if I pay the bill late in depression, I can't help somebody with a budget. And those were her words. She was like, it's absolutely insane to me. But in the interim, that's meant that the job got terminated. And it's still a win for me, because it gave me the opportunity to later decide that this was a time I needed to be vulnerable, and start sharing. I don't know that I would have come to the decision to share my story the way I'm sharing it if that didn't happen, because it would have immediately solved some of my problems, and I would have been able to continue to mask all that I had been through over the last 4 years. But not having that as a quick win, a quick solution, made me go, you know what? I'm going to have to stand in the sunlight and share what these last 4 years have been like, recovering from the damage that that trauma and abuse and depression, and that whole season of my life, the damage that had done to my finances and my journey coming out of it. So I'm glad that it happened, because I get to be honest with you guys about all of my setbacks, not just my triumphs. It's easy to share the good things that have happened. I had a long, long reign of just being in a good space financially, and it also helped me remember what it feels like emotionally to be uncertain financially, that emotional journey, which is really helpful when people come to me for coaching. I understand what they're feeling in a way that I couldn't relate to when I never had financial problems. So it makes it easier for me to be a better coach because I can understand the things they're not telling me. I can tell when the looking at the numbers was overwhelming and they didn't say that to me, but I could see it on their face. And it allows me to take up space and make them feel seen and heard and loved. So it's probably why my clients always say when they work with me, they feel like they're getting bonus therapy. I'm not a therapist, y'all, but my clients feel like it's therapy for their money. But anyway, what else happened to me? I got my first international sale. God gave me the idea for B-roll videography. I'll tell you about that eventually, not right now. And then God instructed me that 2025 is my year of vulnerability. So those are my wins. And then the journaling pages, I'll show y'all. I'm not going to give y'all details of my journal, but I will show y'all how to use this. Okay. So this is what the rest of the journal is. Every day you have a morning prompt and you have an evening prompt. Okay. In the mornings, you are going to do an activity to be self-aware of how you feel. If you follow me, you know I talk about how you feel emotionally, physically, mentally affect the decisions you make with your money. I just told you about that. I went through depression. I knew what to do with my money skill-wise, but I was in deep depression. I was dealing with PTSD and I had completely shut down. And despite knowing what to do with my money, I wasn't doing any of it because I was paralyzed. Okay. And so if you don't know what's going on, if you don't even see it coming, it was coming for a long time. And I didn't see it because I had a habit of not even prioritizing, noticing myself, much less taking care of myself. I was busy taking care of everybody else. So you need to build a habit of checking in with yourself. So how are you feeling today emotionally? A smiley face, sad face to smiley face, right? How are you feeling physically? You might think like, why physically? You know how like when you're in pain and people ask you a question, you irritate and you just be like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm tired. So your kids ask, Mom, can I have $20? And you so sleepy and you just want them to shut up and get out your room. And you're like, yeah, go ahead, right? And you didn't even mean to tell them yes because you're physically tired. You need to have awareness of how you're feeling. How are you feeling mentally? Are you feeling foggy? Are you feeling cloudy? Are you confused? Are your thoughts jumbled up? Are you feeling overwhelmed mentally? That might be a sign that you don't need to make major financial decisions today. So this is going to help you have an awareness so that at least you know what's going on before you're making a decision. And if you need to tap in and go, you know what, I am not feeling great today. Maybe I need to make the decision tomorrow, or I'm not feeling great today. Maybe I don't need to make the decision by myself. Maybe I need to tap in my financial coach. Maybe I need to tap in my accountability partner. Maybe I need to ask my husband to make this decision instead of me. Maybe I need to not make a decision at all. If you have to make the decision, at least you're aware of the state of mind you were in when you were making that decision. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to write down what you actually did in the morning. So I gave you some ideas of some good things to do in the morning, but I also gave you space to write in what you actually did. So if you know in your first few minutes you scrolled on social media, write it down. If you know that in your first few minutes you ate a brownie, write it down. Because you had a brownie left over next to your bed. I don't know why. Whatever it is you did, I want you to write it down because I want you to start to notice your habits. When you had a good day, what were the things that you did? I want you to start to notice the patterns that on a day that I watched a scary movie right before I went to bed, I noticed that I didn't sleep the best. I noticed that I woke up with bad thoughts. Like, I want you to start to notice like what actually helps you have a good day and what actually contributes to you having a bad day. I want you to notice what actually helps you have more clarity and what doesn't. Like, is the day you took vitamins the same day that you actually went and walked a half a mile? Is the day you talked to your friend the day you forgot to do XYZ? I want you to notice how your habits contribute to how you feel. Okay, so you're going to write out what you actually did. The next thing that you're going to do in here is you're going to exercise gratitude. I do believe in the law of attraction. What we focus on is what we attract more of. It's not that bad things aren't happening, but there are a lot of good things happening too. And so I really want you to get in the habit of getting your mind in a state of abundance, not thinking about all the things that went wrong, but all the things that went right, so that you actually are inspired to take action. Because if you feel like everything's going wrong, of course, you're not going to want to do anything. You feel like, what's the point? But if you wake up in the morning, like, thank you, God, for, whatever it is that happened, you're going to start noticing. And I promise you, this is what inspired me to create this journal. I started doing this on line paper before it became a beautiful tool. And I was like, every morning, I'm just going to find something over the last 24 hours to be grateful for. And I don't even care if something went wrong. I would find what's the good in what went wrong. Like, okay, um, this person broke up with me, or this friend, or I don't know, just trying to think of something, right? I would think like let's say your relationship ended. Okay, obviously that doesn't feel great, but this does give me more time to focus on my business, to focus on myself. I was spending a lot of time and energy on that person, and I thank you, God, for this extra time I now have to focus on myself. I thank you, God, for this extra time I have to talk to you. I thank you for the good parts of that relationship. I thank you for all the amazing parts. And I thank you that you are freeing me for the parts that weren't great. I started developing a skill of being able to see what was good and what was bad. And then it made the not, the bad things have less of an impact on my life, because there was always something happening for me, even in the bad situation. But it also made it easier for me to spot the truly just amazing things and create a attitude of like, thank you, God, for just like, if you don't do nothing else for me, I noticed. Like as a wife or as a mother, we do things for our families all the time that are just normal things, and people are so used to them that people think that like saying thank you doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, I cook dinner for my family, and yes, I'm supposed to do that, and I do it all the time, but it still makes me feel good when my kid says, "Thank you, mom," or "That dinner was really great. I appreciate it." Like, it feels good to me. It doesn't get old, right? That's how I feel like we need to be towards God about the things that he's doing. Yes, God is God, and he's always doing amazing things for me, but I still want to tell you thank you for that little thing you did yesterday. Thank you for waking me up. It seems like it's obvious. Thank you for my eyesight. I know I take my vision for granted, but when I started needing glasses, I was like, thank you, God, that I'm not blind, because I realized this vision could get worse, and I want to make sure I'm thanking you for all the little things. I don't want to take nothing for granted. Thank you, God. My knees hurt, but I thank you, God, that I can stand up on these hurt knees, right? I mean, my knees don't really hurt today, but I started, when I would have like a pain in my body or a problem in my life, I started thanking God that I'm alive to have that problem. You know what I mean? Like, if my car broke down, thank you, God, that I have a car that could break down. I could be walking. I could already not have transportation. I could have been walking all along. I thank you, God, that I am alive to have this problem. I thank you, God, that I know people who work on cars who could help me resolve this issue. I thank you, God, that I have a job, that I make money, that I could afford to save and be able to pay for this with time. I thank you, God. Like, I just started saying, like, this is a problem, but I see so much good in it. I refuse to let the problem get all the glory. I refuse to let the problem get all the glory. I'm going to notice what went right. Okay. So that's what this section is. Every morning you're gonna wake up with an attitude of gratitude. Um on the sides of every page is an inspiring quote. And then at the bottom of day one, the morning, you're going to set your intentions. How do you intend to go through this day? What do you intend to do? How do you intend to feel? What type of attitude do you want to have? What are your intentions for the day? You get to decide. Okay. Now, that's the morning. In the evening, you're going to do the same thing. How are you feeling? Right? You need to be aware of how you're feeling going into the night, right? Um, because maybe you need to do some self-care, extra self-care before you go to sleep, right? Maybe you need to pray for something specifically, and you need to be aware of how you're feeling. Maybe you need to communicate to someone what's going on with you. So same thing, you're going to write down what you did at night so that you can develop clarity on how your habits are affecting, your night. And then you're going to do 3 prompts at night. The first is it's a self-love prompt of I forgive you for. We are really good at beating ourselves up about all the things we did wrong, whether it's what we didn't get accomplished today, or what we did wrong 3 years ago, 10 years ago, that we're still beating ourselves for. I want you to forgive yourself. I want you to write a prompt. I forgive you for forgetting to drop off that prescription, that permit. Again, I know that you care about your health and you've forgotten, and it's not the end of the world. It will be okay. I forgive you um, for yelling at your child today. You could have been more patient. You could have explained it differently, and you lost um, your north in this moment. And I forgive you because you're a person and you weren't having the best day. I forgive you for making that purchase. I know that you're going to make better choices in the future, and I forgive you for not honoring your values today. Right. So you're going to forgive yourself. The next self-love prompt is I'm proud of you for. It's so easy for us to notice what we did wrong, but we do not create enough space for what we did right, because for everything that we did wrong, we probably did a million things right that day. And we just don't pay them any mind. So I'm proud of you for. I'm proud of you for even acknowledging that that wasn't a good choice and asking for forgiveness. Like, I remember yelling at my daughter, and what she did was wrong, but I overreacted in my response to that. And I went back to her eventually and I was like, Jordan, I apologize. You're still on punishment. The choice you made was still wrong, but I could have said it differently, and I didn't need to respond in that way. And I'm sorry. And so I was proud of myself for putting my ego to the side and prioritizing her emotional health and her self-esteem, and apologizing to her and demonstrating what accountability looks like, demonstrating for her. And I was proud of myself for doing that. I'm proud of myself for let me give you a real time proud of myself. I'm proud of myself for choosing to be vulnerable with y'all and tell y'all where I am emotionally, where I am financially, so that it's so much easier for me to talk to y'all and coach y'all, because you guys know that I'm in the middle of recovering from damage I've done to my finances when I was going through depression and when I was surviving abuse. And I'm proud of myself for getting past my fears of what y'all will think about me for um, that season of my life, and just choosing to do it anyway, choosing to believe that God makes space for me and there's somebody who needs to hear me tell that story. Um, so I'm proud of myself for. So you're going to write what you're proud of yourself for in the last 24 hours. And then the last part, and this is important, it cannot be overstated, to release your thoughts. Us ADHDers, we are good at ruminating anxious thoughts. We are letting thoughts cycle through our brain over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And we can't just give it up, and we struggle to sleep because our brains won't shut the hell up. But let me tell you where I can finally rest is when I choose to release the thoughts. Sometimes it's literally just like an actual task. Like, I need to remember to take out to get milk from the grocery store, and I'm trying to force my brain to remember it. Stop trying to do that. Your neurodivergent brain has short term working memory. You're not going to remember it. Stop trying to be like everybody and hope to magically just have that type of memory. It's stop. Write down, get milk from the grocery store so you can get it out your brain. But most of the time it's not stuff like that. It's thoughts of things we need to do, or we're worried about, or we're not in control of. And what I want you to do for that prompt is put I trust God too. I put at night, I trust God to help bring back to my memory the ideas I have for my business. Because sometimes I want to work all the way through the night because I have a really good rhythm. And I'm afraid if I lose my stride the next day, I'll forget where I was going with it and I'll be stuck for a couple months on a project. But I've got to, like, it's not healthy. I need to sleep. So I got to say, like, I trust God too. I trust God to bring better ideas to me in the morning. I trust God to give me solutions that I didn't think of. I trust God to put a job right in front of my face. I trust God too. I trust God. I trust God. Like, that's what this area is, to like release it and let it go so you can go to sleep. Um, and so yeah, that's what this you're doing every morning, every night for 31 days. I dare you to do this over this next month, and report back to me how your month and your mindset has changed because you've done this. Again, you don't have to order this journal. I gave you all the prompts. So if you've been sitting here listening this whole time and you've written them down, you're welcome to use a notebook and write them down. But if you want the budgeting, if you want this prompt, this journal, I'm sorry, you want to invest in the journal, it is on my website, youngrichreader.com/books. And I usually order for myself like 3 at a time so that I have the next month's journal already before the month ends, because I like to do this part before the month begins. So usually like a couple of days before the month begins, I'm starting to, or at least the day before, I'm starting to do the prep work for the month. So when I start on day one, I can go right into reciting my vision, reciting my affirmations, reciting my activations, reciting my impact, looking at my vision board, and actually just doing the journal pages. So that's it. Do y'all have any questions for me? Do y'all have any questions for me? Do you have any questions? Thank y'all for staying on this whole time. I appreciate you. Let me make sure I'm following you, Mama said it, because I don't know if I am. Oh, I am. Okay. If y'all have any questions, you are welcome to ask them in the comments, or if you want to come up to the panel, you can as well. Just let me know. And I'm going to pull this video down and try to pull out like the most meaningful parts and add this as a guide on my playlist so that you guys know how to use this particular tool. Because I know that I don't know if TikTok's going to be here. If y'all aren't following me on YouTube, can y'all pause? Can y'all do me a favor? I think January 19th or 18th or whatever is when TT might be going away. And I don't know if it is or if it isn't. And so if you could do me a favor and go to my YT YouTube page. I'm saying it that way because I feel like I don't know if the algorithm will block me for promoting a different platform. If you could subscribe to that, I would really appreciate it because I don't want to lose y'all. I have a lot of followers, and I feel like TT does an amazing job of bringing in the right people and letting y'all know, like, the algorithm is just amazing on TT, and it really helps people who want this type of help find me. And I am scared that on these other platforms, they're just going to be force feeding us celebrities and people where the content we don't need or care about. And so I'm hoping that I can get ahead of it by having y'all. So if y'all can go to, hey, Shay, you said, let me go order my stuff so I can get on track. Yay! Happy New Year. You said, no, I don't have any right now. Okay, well, whenever you do, feel free to DM me. And I still want to talk to you about sharing your story too. So DM me anywhere. Shayna, thank you so much. Yes, get your stuff now. The bundle is on sale right now. For those of y'all who are like, what is the bundle that she's talking about? Let me put the other products in front of y'all so you can see them. Sorry. So that's the journal. This is the financial self-care coloring book. I told you all my products are hella black, okay? Unapologetically. So and Shayna, this was inspired by my god sister. My god sister is I call her I can't actually say that on social media. I'm gonna end up getting banned. She know what I call her. Anyway, I felt like I not only don't I see Black people in a lot of products, I don't see different body types in a lot of products. And I really wanted to represent Black women who look different. I wanted all Black women to feel seen if possible. And obviously I couldn't capture everything, but I did my best to make sure I was including Black women who didn't just look like me. So now the hairstyle is definitely, I'm locked up. So this was definitely, in fact, I colored in my personal coloring book. I colored her with different colorful hair. Cause if you know me, I got colorful locks, but I tried to capture, I try to give us, different looks, my daughter likes wearing these little buns in her hair. So we got the affirmation staircase. I tried to capture, the little fro. I try to capture our fellas differently because I feel like when I see pictures of Black men, especially in a product like this, they're like looking like they work a corporate job. And he might, but I just wanted somebody who looked real regular and buying a house, right? Because that's what they're doing. So I tried to make sure that we felt seen. But again, this is about financial self-care. So the whole idea was to help you think of positive things. I even included the little kitties. This is mostly for Black women, so it ain't got a whole bunch of pictures of kids. But for example, she's supposed to be behind the fence talking about my kids know about money because of me. Look at this affirmation. Don't you want to say this? Money comes to me easily. Yes. Look at the money just coming at her. My business is growing. I can find ways to build wealth with my friends. Look at these friend groups. Friend groups, y'all. Friend groups making money together, working together. Look at their brainstorming together, like how they can make money together. I love this for us. She said she called me her bald-headed money mistress. That's a new one. I call you my bald-headed something, but it ain't money mistress. You know what it is. But I like Money Mistress. I'm here for it. I'm always a worthy investment. This is her looking at herself in the mirror, right? I'm always a worthy investment. You know, I deserve a good life. Not feeling bad about having nice. Some of us are doing well in life, but we don't really talk about it because we feel like bad for doing better than other people are doing. And you deserve a good life, friend. Bask in it. I want it. I love it for you. If you're doing well financially, I love that for you. Don't be ashamed. I can create ways to say yes to new experiences. I'm well paid because I know my value in the workplace and I ask for it. These are the affirmations. So as you're coloring, like you're not just coloring a page. The coloring is meant to help decompress you and to get you in the best emotional state. Because I told you don't make good financial decisions when you're stressed out. So it isn't intentionally a self-care tool. But the affirmation statements are intentional. It's to help you think about things I want you to think about while you're doing this as it relates to your finances. So in the background in this picture, it says, I am an asset, right? The subtle thoughts. I can get 1 month ahead quickly. Okay. I am an investor in the background of this picture, right? She's an investor. So you're coloring her because she's cute, but I can turn $1 into 15 million. Okay. Yes. We got families in here. My family is creating generational blessings. We ain't repeating generational curses. Okay. Generational blessings. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. Okay. I'm giving you inspiration in here. When I take care of myself, including my wealth, I'm teaching my kids the value of self-care. Okay. My budget is a guide I'm happy to follow. So these are all, look at her, another sister. I love her. I like her. She is sewing. This was kind of inspired by my friend Sonia, who is a fashion designer. And yeah, that's her way of making money. And so, yeah. My creativity makes me money. So some of y'all are sitting on income producing skill sets. Okay, so there's a few other pages in here. I'm not gonna go over all of them, but that's the coloring book. And then there is the money challenge workbook that is in the financial self-care bundle. And that has all kinds of challenges. Of course, the month ahead fund challenge is in here. And the instructions on how to go about doing it. I feel really bad because I feel like, hold on, let me move this out of the way. Because I feel like I can't really see. Facebook, y'all got a really good view. YouTube, y'all got a really good view because I'm a little more, my camera's a little higher on there. I've got different bingo boards. So the No Spend September challenge, I don't know which version of the challenge you downloaded, but hopefully yours looks like this one. Mommy said it, where you have the 4 different bingo boards in here, but that's in there. So that's also in this book. But I also have some other challenges. I have the 3 different versions of the penny challenge. So you can do it weekly, you can do it monthly, and then you can do the traditional. This one is the daily one. And you can do it the traditional way, or you can do it in reverse. So the reverse penny challenge is you're starting at, so like today is January 1. Oh, I should do a live. I might have to do a second live just on the penny challenge. I might do a second live today. I might do a couple different live. Y'all might see me on live all day today. But the penny challenge. So the penny challenge, you're starting today, right? Today is January, so you will be putting a penny in your bank. Okay. I don't know if you can see that over here. You'll be putting a penny in your bank. It's January. Let me move this up so you guys can see. I don't know if y'all can see that. Anyway, you'll be putting a penny in your bank. So it's, if you guys want to do the penny challenge, today is the day you put a penny in your bank, and you will color this one in with, your little yellow highlighter to tell you. Now, this chart tells you how much to put in and how much should be in your bank as of today if you've been following the chart. So for example, on day 201 of the year, whatever day of the month that is, you should be putting in $2.01 because it's the day 201, right? $2.01. But if you've been doing this every single day by this date, you should have $203.01 in your account. Okay. When we get down to day 290, right? You should be putting in $2.90 because it's the 290th day of the year. So you should be putting $2.90. And if you've been following along into this day, you should have a total of $421. On the last day of the year, depending on if it's a leap year or not, you'll notice this has a shaded 366. And it's because I didn't know if it would be a leap year or not. But if it's not a leap year, then you'd be putting in $3.65 because it's the 365th day of the year. And you will have saved $667.95, which is what you see here. But if it is a leap year, where there's 366 days that year, you'll be putting $3.66 that last day of the year, and you will save a total of $671.61. So that's a penny challenge. This is very doable. Anybody, y'all can all save a penny. But here's where I want you to double down. This is more than just putting a penny. Every single day, you need to save a penny, but you also need to deposit a positive thought into your life. So say something positive about yourself and about your money as you're depositing that penny, because positive thoughts leads to positive habits, leads to positive impact. Okay, so that is that one penny challenge, but you can do it a different way. You can also do the penny challenge where you're doing it in reverse. So instead of starting with just one penny, you'd be starting at the end of the year. So like day one would be, you would be putting $3.65 in your bank, which I actually like the reverse a little bit better, because at the beginning of the year, you're the most motivated to make good choices. So putting in a higher dollar amount is definitely more feasible, and you're more likely to keep up with it, right? So in the beginning of the month, you're starting with the highest dollar amount. And so when you get to the end of the year, when we're in December and we got Christmas coming and it's harder, you're only putting in pennies at this point, and you're less likely to fall off because you're worried about gift giving. At the end of the year, it's a lot harder to stick to this when you have Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the spending holidays right here. So I kind of like doing the penny challenge in reverse. So if you want, you can start here in the end. But if you do it in reverse, I recommend you do it weekly, which is why I set it up. So that means in week one, what you'd be depositing is $25.34. Okay. Week two, you would be depositing $24.85. And as you can see, it's 52 weeks in a year. And every week, the amount that you're depositing gets smaller and smaller. So when you get towards December, right, at the end of the year, you're only depositing $1.82 for the week. You can still keep that up. So when money starts getting tight at the end of the year, like it does for a lot of people, you're not going to fall off because the amount you need to deposit to stick to it is still small. But in the beginning of the year, where you're inspired and you also got your tax refund check, right, it's easier for you to keep up with these 25. You're never depositing more than $25.34 a week. And if you do that, you will have reached your savings goal of $667. For those of y'all who are trying to do the month ahead challenge, you're trying to figure out how to get a month ahead, this is a great way to get a month ahead. You can use the penny challenge to do it. Okay, so that's if you're doing the reverse weekly. Another way to do the penny challenge is monthly. Okay, and for that, if you could do this reverse or forward, however you want to do it, but each month you would deposit the amount here. So in January, if you put out $4.96, you've done the January, and you're gonna check that off, like, okay, I've done January. February, you need to deposit $12.74. March, April, May, till you get to the end, where in December you're depositing $108.50 and you have the same total. So again, if you want to do this in reverse because you're more motivated in the beginning of the year, you can start off with January putting $108.50. November putting 95. I'm sorry. January putting 108. February putting 95. March putting 89. April 77. May 70. And then when you get down here to November, we're putting in $12 and some change. And January $4.96. I'm sorry, December $4.96, where most of your gift giving is happening. So you can do this in reverse as well. You just need to manually change the months. Okay. And you will have reached this goal. Does this feel doable to you? Okay. I got some other challenges in here. The situationship challenge. This is about money, y'all. I'm not going to explain all of them to you. Get the workbook. I got the March Madness Money Challenge. Y'all know how March Madness works. You got brackets. So this is not just about saving. This is also, these challenges help you get more organized. It helps you have money conversations you need to have, helps you avoid traps, helps you plan ahead. So this is not like your typical money challenge workbook where the only thing you have is stuff like this, where you have like a shape and you're coloring it in when you save that dollar amount. I have those in here too, but y'all need more than that. I got challenges for you to challenge yourself to like make money off of stuff you already have in your house. I love this one, the put one thing back saving challenge. This is one of my favorite ones. Okay. Round up savings challenge. The travel challenge. I know Shayna loves this one. She loves this travel challenge. You're gonna fill up your passport with every time you save $20, you get to color in a passport stamp. Okay, until your passport book is completely full, and then you have money for a trip. So that's the savings travel challenge. Yeah, so I got a few different challenges in here. Income creator challenge, investing. This one is investing bingo. This is to help teach you some or fundamental things, foundational things with investing. Yeah, and then this is like all the tools. But anyway, the 4 things that are in the financial self-care bundle as it is currently, because I imagine myself adding to it eventually, is the money challenge workbook, the journal, the coloring book, and then the big bad wolf, the budgeting workbook. I'm not going to go through this right now at all. I've done it before. But you see this thing is thick. Okay. You get a lot in here. So when you're looking at this bundle, you are not just getting some little, because I be seeing people be selling like little money challenge workbooks with like 10 little challenges in here that you could have drew hearts on it yourself, and they charging $20 for it. I'm charging what I'm charging for my products, but you're getting so much more than you typically get in tools. I'm telling you, I live in Barnes and Nobles. Anybody who knows me knows I'm always in the bookstore. So I look at stuff that's out there, and I didn't create something that I thought already existed. I created something that I thought didn't exist. It was better for you and also reflected the culture. Okay. But the budgeting workbook, this is like 4 workbooks in one. Okay. It has the tracker pages, the calendar planner pages. It also has a section where I'm teaching you how to budget. And then it also has like the emotional mental health part of the finance. Like, do you know what you value financially, helping you figure out what your values are so that your budget actually aligns with them. I take you through the 4 key financial skills so that you can set some goals around there. It has lots of goal setting pages. It has some hacks, ADHD specific hacks for if you have ADHD and you get stuck on different areas, different things that you can do in order to be able to follow through, because ADHD has some very unique obstacles, and so you need some very unique solutions. So I've included a page in there for that as well. And that's it. I'm gonna hop off. I've been on here way longer than I expected to. It's been a 2-hour live, and you said yes when you complete the travel challenge. Be sure to hit me up. Let's turn that dream trip you worked so hard for into reality. Yes, Shayna is a travel agent. I've got a couple travel sisters, and so once you take the time to save, make sure you work with a travel agent who's going to help make sure that you're not losing money by not understanding what you need to do when you're on this trip, to help you understand the pros and cons of things like travel insurance. Help, they have travel. I know lots of travel agents now are able to do some payment plans with you as well. So yeah, that's part of using your resources in your network, friends. I talked about that in the beginning. That's it. That's all. I'm hopping off a live. Thank y'all for joining me today. I might come back on later. Thank you guys for doing the Strong Start, Strong Finish journal with me today. And I'm gonna get back to the rest of my morning self-care routine. And that's it.